Hello, and welcome to the Weekly Scroll Podcast. My name is Ryan.
And I'm a guru that sustains himself on your bad thoughts.
I am Aaron King, game designer and co-host of the podcast RTFM, the RPG Book Club podcast.
Woo!
Nice.
That's the cleanest intro we've ever done.
Wow.
It didn't take us 5 minutes to decide how to do it, but damn, that was clean. But it's not just Aaron King today; it's our noir Aaron King with us today.
I'm bad at technology.
Yeah, those in podcast land, you'll get that joke when you watch it on YouTube. But yes, Aaron King with us today. Aaron's been on the show before. We've reviewed a number of other games. Patrick Rollage is fantastic. The game we're reviewing today later, Enamir Brightly. Aaron was actually on before to discuss putting this together with Max Lander. So we're going to take a look at that. And also talk today about the Bootleg Fest happening. For those watching, you'll see the banner above us today. Before all that gets going, though, how the heck are you doing, Aaron?
I'm good. It's finally summer here in Minneapolis, and it's been raining for 2 days, and so I had to turn all my fans off, and so I feel like I'm living in a swamp. So it's also probably good that I'm in sepia or whatever, or being listened to on a podcast, because I am like just sweaty right now. But
Just moist.
Moist.
It's moist.
Yeah.
Good. Sounds like a pleasurable state of being.
It's not bad. I would prefer, I like this moist because oftentimes here it is too cold to be moist and it is instead frozen and icy. So I'm just Shrekking it. I'm Shrekking it in my swamp today, and I appreciate that.
There you go. I feel like I'm the polar opposite. I live in what amounts to like a desert valley, and I'm extremely unmoist and often quite dry, actually. And I think the high today is like 87. So
I want you to know the weather where I am is perfect so much of the year. So
yeah. Fuck you.
My terrible weather breeds good character, though.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Friction breeds creativity. You know.
Yeah.
Apparently, so does moistness.
It's a kind of friction.
Yeah.
A sticky friction.
We're doing really great so far.
Yeah, we do not need to talk about this.
Perfect.
This is why I only do podcasts and not live stuff, because it's like, just edit all this out. Please edit all this out. People don't need to hear.
What we do is we never edit anything, so it always stays in. Even our long pauses and terrible jokes. That's part of the fun, you know?
It's the charm, you know?
Yeah. So Aaron King Bootleg Fest that is going on right now. Why don't you tell what is the Aaron King Bootleg Fest?
It is a pre-order to fund a print run of a number of zines that I have written, some game zines. They are all blatantly using IP that I do not own. And so I'm hoping I don't get hit with a cease and desist, another cease and desist.
Yeah.
I've already been hit by one previously. So yeah, I want to have these zines in print so I can take them to Zine Fest and stuff. And this is how I'm going to do it. And instead of trying to skirt the law, it's filing those serial numbers off, I just thought I would embrace it. I don't necessarily believe in the ownership of intellectual property, and so I'd make a joke out of it, and also print what are hopefully some cool games.
They do look like very cool games.
Good. Thank you. Should I run down? Do you want individual descriptions?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
One is called Speed Rune. It's a very short, rules light, ancient world fantasy. So something akin to like Rune Quest, but also maybe something like Xena Warrior Princess or something like that. It uses a system derived from CyberMetal 2012. I know you're a fan. I'm a fan.
Absolutely.
Adam Vass, World Champ Game Co. So real simple, like D100 roll with some fun fiction rules built in. Another one is called After the Bomb, and it is my salute to Fallout. I wrote it years ago. I've always loved the video games. Now the TV show is out, so I again am hoping to blatantly capitalize on that. It uses the Down We Go system from Plus One EXP. There's a lot of gear swapping, and it comes with full campaign set in Minneapolis with a cool Fallout style map. And if you go get it digitally, there's also a zip file of royalty-free oldies. So like in the Fallout video game, you can have your radio station playing in the background. And then the last one is Spice World, which is a Dune-like game built on the Traveler chassis. So 2d6 rolls, but all the career paths are things from Dune.
Yeah. It's a Dune Traveler mashup. Sounds like a good fucking time. I'm very excited for that.
Traveler or Tune, you know?
Tune. There we go.
Tune sounds like a failed MP3 player from the late 90s.
Wait, wasn't there something like that, though?
Zune.
It was the Zune. I remember.
Yeah.
So what brought about this bootleg fest? Like, I mean, a few of these have been around for like an amount of time, right? And Spice World is a more recent project for you. What set you off on this path to like, oh, I'm gonna fund all these right now and print them?
Yeah, I've been wanting to get stuff printed for a while. It is unfortunately expensive, and I don't want to do a Kickstarter because those are stressful in their own way. So I wanted to just set up a pre-order system. I am, I think like a lot of people now on the long tail of COVID and stuff, trying to reconnect locally with people that maybe I hadn't seen for a few years. We dropped off each other's radar during lockdown and stuff. And so I wanted to have zines mostly to take to local zine fests and stores. And we have a lot of like art events, indie art events, stuff like that. And so I just wanted to have a decent stock of zines that I could show up and trade. We have Zine Fest here as well. And when I started looking at the stuff that I wanted to have in print, I realized like, oh, these are all kind of my very personal version of something that I've always wanted to play, but never found a way to enjoy playing it. Like I've tried the Modifius Dune game. I've looked at the Fallout one. I've looked at Mutant Year Zero. I have like 5 versions of RuneQuest behind me, and none of them are that fun to me. But there's so much that appeals to me in all of those. And so, I wanted to get all of those together, all in print. And I just like bootleg stuff. I think, I grew up in the South and there were all sorts of flea markets and there would be weird bootleg toys, or like going to the dollar store and it's like Captain Action and it's just like a repainted Spider-Man or whatever. Like those always held a certain mystique to me, and a certain level of humor. And so, I like bootlegs. I like flea markets. I like selling stuff for cash under the table and let's not tell anyone kind of thing. So that's, I hope, the 3 angles that brought this about.
I do love that. I'm also from the South, and I also do remember those flea markets. Actually, even in California, I've been to a few that were like, cool DVDs, buddy. Very cool.
Why do we always randomly run into people and realize that we're all from the South? Do you mind saying where you were from in the South, Aaron? Or
yeah, I was born in Austin, Texas, and lived in Texas for years. Did we
forget all this? Because I was born in San Antonio, Texas, and Hunter
I'm from Dallas.
Yeah. And my dad grew up in San Francisco, which is also very funny. I think there's, again, talking about like reconnecting with people, in the Midwest, there is this kind of level of, you hear about the Midwest passive aggressiveness. And I know other people that move here and they're just like, how do you make friends? And it is kind of difficult. And so I do always end up connecting with people who are here from the South who are just like, no one hangs out on their porch and invites strangers onto their porch. What's up with that? And it's, just we have to connect all these expatriates from the South when they end up elsewhere. So
so I've never lived in the Midwest, but I've lived in the South, I've lived in the East, and I've lived on the West. I had never heard of like a Midwest passive aggressiveness. But I'll tell you what, when I went from East Coast to West Coast, there was a massive culture shock of most of it was just the speed at which people do stuff. Everyone on the East Coast is moving so fast and is like very blunt with their shit, and everyone on the West Coast is moving so slow, and like The biggest issue I had is I would, on the East Coast, if you say, hey, let's go do something, you go do something together. On the West Coast, if you say, hey, let's go do something, that's just their way of saying goodbye. They have no plans to ever talk to you again. But you get used to it, I guess.
Yeah, it's some of that in the Midwest too. It is a way of saying I enjoyed our time together, is to say let's spend some other time together. It does not actually mean let's commit to spending that time together.
Right.
Yeah, the Midwest is very like, oh, isn't that nice? Or I went to college and I was friends with a lot of people who were involved in the arts, and the compliment they always get, like at art shows and stuff, is like, oh, that's interesting. Like a complete unwillingness to say what they really feel, an inability to say what they feel without it sounding offensive. And so they just say a nothing. They say something that translates into nothing at all. So.
Well, you just described the way I talk to everybody. So thanks for that 10-second psychology.
Yeah, I work in retail. And so it's actually a useful skill to have, to speak to someone and actually say nothing to them, because people don't like it when you tell the truth when you work in retail. So
they don't want you to be a human in retail. They want you to be a dispensing machine that makes small talk.
Yeah.
So I work in healthcare. So I work. It's just like retail, but with body fluids. So
good.
So I gotcha. So more about the Bootleg Fest. So I've had Speedrun for quite a while. I remember. I won't mention that actually. But and After the Bomb's been out for like 2 years now. I love the way that that's put together. I know that you're a big comics head. I love all the use of the comics and that, everything like. At some point, we're definitely going to be talking about Speedrun here on the show. Me and Hunter have been being like, what game are we going to do from Aaron next for quite a while. So we're excited to finally get to Enemy or Brightly. But Spice World, and we talked about this a little bit before the show started, is one that is not out yet in PDF, and it's coming out. And I know you said something about like this is the little bonus. So for those that, because all of these are available on your H page right now. We'll make sure the link to that is down below. But tell us a little bit more about Spice World specifically, since it's not available to us at this point.
Spice World. I've wanted to do a Dune game for a long time. I've tried different ways in and never gotten it. Like you, I've recently gotten into Traveler in a big way. And the cool parts of Traveler, I mean, the whole of Traveler is very cool, but I think the initial things that spark people's imaginations are the life path character creation, where you're entering into a service or a career path and rolling to see if you get promotions and rolling to see what you get materially when you leave or when you get promoted. That stuff is very cool. It's also a really simple resolution system that uses 2d6, so it's like not far off from a lot of other games as well. The hard part of Traveler is the same stuff that you see like in D&D, like old dungeon crawler stuff, is there's all these rules that are really intrinsic and important to the game that are not really laid out very well. And in D&D, it's like the importance of the dungeon turns and stuff like that. And in Traveler, it's the importance of mortgages and paying your debts. And
hey man, you got to pay for that ship,
Yeah. And there's a whole kind of hidden system of buying stuff in one system and shipping it to another while you're doing your mission. You're also carting a bunch of carbon from this carbon-rich planet to this carbon-poor planet or whatever. And it's really interesting, and it's really well done once it starts humming. But Traveler does ask you to build that entire engine before you turn it on. There's some great blog posts out there that lay it out a little more clearly, but it's very much a spreadsheet game, which if you have the right group, that's awesome. If everyone's on board helping track this spreadsheet, it hums very nicely. I don't have a lot of people around here that play games like that. And so I kind of vandalized Traveler and took out all the money. Dune is so unconcerned with like making money and with poor people in general, and is very concerned with like aristocracy and rulers and dictators. And so this is a game about entering those career paths to be a noble or an accomplished sword fighter or a rich merchant, and kind of scheming and plotting and gathering information without the need to track how much money you have or whether you'll be able to fly from one planet to another. Is that, I guess I described what it isn't. But yeah, so you get skills. The skills are the typical Dune skills that you would expect, like bureaucracy, sex, sword fighting, and a lot of the skills are used outside of combat to gather info, get dirt on your opponents and stuff like that. A lot of kind of PBTA style pick lists where you're rolling and asking questions and getting this info. And then there are more direct contests like there are in Traveler or D&D. But a cool thing about Traveler is there's no hit points. You're always taking away from people's attributes. In base Traveler, I think you're only attacking the physical attributes. But because it's Dune, now you can also attack their social status or their sense of self and erode that with your powerful Mentat computing skills or your Bene Gesserit sexiness until, if you get their social status down, they're embarrassed and they lose face and stuff like that. So that's been a fun part of like, what does it look like to treat a secret the same way that Traveler treats a laser gun, and that you can use the secret to deal damage to someone's social status and mess with them that way. So
that is pretty cool. That's a really cool idea.
It's going to be fun. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. I'm excited to play more.
That sounds fantastic. I love it is so weird that like, and I think that's what some people really like about watching like things and reading things about like the aristocracy and stuff, is that exact thing that you're zeroing in on, is that like if you like make fun of one of your buddies in like a circle, like you just made fun of one of your buddies, but if you make fun of like another member of like the high nobility aristocracy, you could literally start like a generational war because how dare you made them lose like face in front of like their friends and stuff. It's the stakes become higher when the stakes actually are like completely meaningless for the most part, and it's really interesting.
Right. And there's all these old books of like nobles becoming so embarrassed or their love is turned down that they waste away and die. And it's like, can you turn that into a game? Can you kill someone with sadness? I think we can do this in this game. So yeah, I've been reading a bunch of, I love to read. That's always sounds dumb when I say it. I need to figure out a better way to say it. But I've been reading a lot of like books, fiction set during the Napoleonic War or during like Renaissance Europe and stuff like that, like books about nobility and aristocracy to try to figure out like, what can I pull from that? Because Dune is, I mean, there's lasers and there's spaceships, but it is like basically hand-to-hand fighting. It's Napoleonic. It's about these nobles who fight in a very established
Well, it's a feudal society,
yes, Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, absolutely. It is science fiction, but it is way more tied into like a previous like 19th 18th century aristocracy that's even more like inspired by the Romans still,
right? I've been reading
just real quick note, it does not sound dumb when you say you like to read. Only sounds dumb when someone proudly says I don't read. So
completely agree.
Not to interrupt you, sorry.
And I'm shocked at the number of people that say the latter, not the former.
But yeah, so I've read like War and Peace and Master and Commander and these like classic Napoleonic books about these rich people going off to war because it's what they were expected to do, and it's because they would rise through the ranks and come back with money, and that's why they go to war. And then they're like getting shot and dying, and they're like, oh, I didn't expect this. What an unfortunate turn of events. And it's been good. It's been fun to see like this is just Dune without the laser guns, and instead of spice, they're worried about their nice furniture or whatever.
I think that's still work in Dune actually as well. Though.
I'm excited for that. So we're going to get this physically as part of the Bootleg Fest. We'll make sure the links are down there. For those, I don't know if we explained exactly what it is. I'll make sure the link is there, but go to this webpage. You can pre-order. Why don't you tell us exactly like what can people actually do with the Bootleg Fest to like go get it and do whatnot?
Yeah, you go to aaronking.games, and it is just a Shopify store, and so you can check out there. It'll charge you for shipping. I have already started sending these games to the printer, so I'm waiting for them to get to me, and then they'll start shipping out. You are pre-ordering individual zines. You can buy as many as you want. If you are like a retailer or distributor, if you order 3 or more of any, I just double your whole order, so basically give you a retail discount. But yeah, once I ship them, I'll also be sending PDFs as well. Speedrun, the base game, is free on itch.io. You can go download it right now. After the Bomb, the whole thing is free for the PDF. You can go download it. So if you are interested and don't want to have a physical thing or can't afford a physical thing, there are still options out there. There are 3 full campaign supplements for Speedrun as well that are being printed. And those are also already done. The PDFs do cost money, so I would just suggest buying the physical one. It's not much more expensive, and I'll send you the PDFs.
Oh, yeah.
And then Spice World's not available on itch right now. I know you can get the PDF for if you buy the physical, but what happens after the physical?
That is a good question. I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure how exclusive I want to keep it. I'm sure eventually I'll put it out. I do a podcast, RTFM, and we have a Patreon. I'll be putting the PDF there. So if you have listened to that and you back the podcast or want to basically, I mean, you could subscribe to our Patreon for $1 for a month and download that and then unsubscribe. That would be fine. That might be the best way to get it, but we'll see. I'm keeping it secret. I'm afraid that the big Dune IP owners are going to come down on me. I'm not actually afraid.
Yeah, well, listen, on our podcast here with our millions of listeners, someone might just call up
one
Dune,
of them is listening.
Tell them to put their popcorn bucket down and go check out this itch.io game. And
also, if anyone wants to send me that Dune popcorn bucket, I do want one. But so I didn't go to the theater. So.
Jarrett Crater got 2, I think, and he was shipping 1 off to somebody. I was like, damn, I should ask you.
Yeah.
My goodness gracious.
Yeah, I did get a cease and desist for Speedrun at one point from Chaosium, which was a bummer. That has all been figured out. They are my mortal enemies now. But I did want to mention quickly, too, that Speedrun has art by this cartoonist, A. Deacon, who is one of my favorite comic artists. I released an early version of Speedrun that just had like some public domain and manipulated stuff. And he was like, hey, can I do art for this? And I was like almost crying. I was like, you are one of my favorite cartoonists. Why are you following me on Twitter? And he turned in like twice the amount of work that he had originally said he would. And so there's just so much cool art.
Wow.
It's like a dream, you know, it's bucket list item of like work with this cartoonist that I really like. So it's worth it for the art alone, I will say.
Yeah, I'm glad you got the cease and desist cleared up, you know?
Yeah, I'm glad you got a cease and desist. Now you have that forever. You know?
It is kind of a badge of honor. This big company came, you know, throwing its weight at me. So
yeah. It's funny, when I first saw the updated Speedrun, it said by Aaron King with art by a Degen, and I was like, what degenerate wrote?
Right. It's good, right? No. I mean, I'm sure it's on purpose. No, his dad is Bruce Deegan, who illustrated children's books. God, one of them is like Jam Bear. Oh my God. Anyway, it's just weird that he comes from this Jamberry. It's a classic kids book by Bruce Deegan. Anyway, just a weird fact from Alex Deegan's biggest fan, me. You can go get his dad's books too. Yeah.
Very cool.
Never saw Jamberry. Interesting. That's neat though. Yeah. No, that's really cool when you get a chance to work with someone who you obviously like. I mean, that's half the reason we've done this podcast, and we get to meet people like you who are like, man, we really like their shit. Maybe they'll talk to us. But that's awesome. The other thing we're doing today, so that is the Bootleg Fest. We'll make sure again that the links are in there. Definitely go check those out. It's worth it. I mean, most of the zines are like $10-ish, and yeah, I mean, to get the PDF as well as the zine for $10, especially with the quality of the stuff that you put out, is an incredible deal. And I of course bought all of them. The shipping is pretty low for that, so definitely want to go check all of those out. We are also going over In a Mirror Brightly today. This is from the Low-Res Futures Kickstarter that you did with Max. I know we talked about this before on the show, but we're gonna be going through this today after we boot you out of here. But tell us a little bit about In a Mirror Brightly.
Yeah, this is going to be a real test. Do I even remember making this game? Kickstarter, the stress of Kickstarter has wiped the memory. In a Mirror Brightly, I think, was the first inspired by CyberMetal game I made. I saw Adam in town when they were touring. Adam's in the band Law Dispute, and they were touring and they were playing a show here, and so we met up. And it was right after I'd read CyberMetal, and I was like, don't take this the wrong way, but I read it and I immediately wanted to make my own version. Like CyberMetal is so good that I was like, I want to mess with this. I want to get my hands in it. And so In a Mirror Brightly is kind of millenarian, like 2000s work of fantasy sci-fi, The Matrix, The Invisibles, the original Mage game from White Wolf, like this idea that a big change is coming and the world will look different, and you can use technology and magic and strangeness to maybe further that change or resist it or whatever. So there's just like lots of weird abilities, and you're fighting against shadowy government entities and just all that kind of Men in Black stuff that really hit its high point in the 2000s, early 2000s. So there's like weird ritual magic, more sex. Ever since I started hanging out with Max, I just have to put sex in every game.
I was gonna say every game you have is just got like a sex skill. Now I remember a number of RTM episodes where it's like, man, this would be better if I added a sex move. Oh wait, this one does have a sex move, you know?
Yeah, so you can do weird sex magic. I mean, there's other non-sex stuff as well. You don't have to. Yeah. I know some people, for any number of reasons, have a hard time engaging with sex material. So it's not explicit. There's a lot of consent stuff in there, and also if that's not your jam, you can ignore it, and the rest of the game will play just fine. But it's another kind of life path character generation thing. There's a full adventure in it, and then there's a cool book attached to the back of my book, or my book is attached to the back of a different cool book, which is kind of a Deathmatch Island style Games of Death, Hunger Games. What's the movie, the Japanese movie, where all those high school kids get sent to the island?
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
My God,
it's a comic book too.
Battle Royale.
Yes,
Battle Royale.
Battle Royale style, yeah. Like what if Fortnite was bloody and sad instead of
Is it not sad?
Instead of full of licensed material.
Right.
Yeah.
God, I should
if Goku's not fighting Casper the Friendly Ghost, it's not Fortnite or whatever the fuck.
And John Wick
Travis
versus
Scott doing virtual concerts, you know.
I wish I could do a Fortnite dance right now. I wish I knew a Fortnite dance. I would do one.
You could do the like this thing or whatever. Like
not in this show. You can't. Sorry, vetoing that. Listen, no flossing here.
If I want to floss, I'm flossing.
Yeah.
Just put on a backpack. But no, this is great. I mean, Low-Res Futures was such a cool idea. Between both, I mean, obviously we've said a million times we're an Adam Vass stand podcast here. I mean, it's probably a big reason we even started it, and a big reason that Adam's a big reason that I think about games the way that I do. I mean, you can't, it's all Adam, but CyberMetal 2012 was a fantastic game, and I really love the way that both you guys like hacked this. I'm really excited to go over this. As I said, we've been wanting to go over this for quite a long time. Just trying to find the right time, and it just kind of fell in. I don't know how it fell in this time. It was just like, hey, we're gonna do this. Want to talk? It's like, yeah, let's talk. Okay, we got it. We're doing it in 2 days. And we're here. So really excited to go over it. I mean, the system is super, super clean. I love the D100 system, and In a Mirror Brightly, it definitely reminds me of those kind of like White Wolf games where it's like, here's the world that everyone sees, and right behind it is this entirely other world. And that really comes through a lot in the game, like especially with like the enemies, where like what's the first enemy? Isn't it just like a regular dude, everyday shithead?
Oh, shithead,
just an everyday shithead. Yeah.
That's my retail experience of like, you're my enemy today. I know you're not a bad guy. I know you're part of this system that's making you act this way. You're still my enemy, and I still have to deal with you. So yeah, it's I mean, the promise of White Wolf was always so much greater than the delivery of the White Wolf games. And so I think, again, getting back to that bootleg idea of like, these big companies take these ideas that are in the public consciousness, like the idea that there is a world behind the one we know is like old, and lots of people have played with that idea. But to suddenly be like, we own this idea now because we put out this 300-page hardcover game about it. The game is not great. There's great ideas in there. There's tons of problematic content in all of those as well. But just, I hope people feel free to go, these are actually all of our ideas, and we can do them the way we want to do that speak to us or the people around us, instead of inheriting this janky thing from someone on high. I don't know, maybe that makes me sound really uncreative, like I only do things based on other things. I don't. There's lots of, I had my weird fully selfish stage of like, these are my strangest ideas. Those are out there too. But now I'm in my, what if I made a good version of these things phase.
But I think that's really fair. I think there is something to be said about like a lot of these ideas, a lot of these themes are things that we've all collectively hold and have been around for longer than a lot of these properties are. And saying like, hey, I gathered a lot of these ideas and concepts and I made an IP out of it. And now you can no longer access like these themes that have been around longer than my IP. Like, that's a hugely dick move. And that's why pirating is okay.
Yeah. You know, most of these games, like I said, are available for free. If you pirate my games, that's cool too. Once I
you should pirate big IPs. You don't pirate from the small people.
You should, but it's back when the Trove existed. The Trove was like a piracy trove of RPG PDFs. And it was, again, speaking of badges of honor, like always kind of a badge of honor to be like, oh, someone put my shit up here. Someone thinks my stuff is interesting enough that they put it on this thing to share with other people. Yeah, I would like the $3 or whatever that I would normally get. But, you know, I go through phases where I have a hard time affording things. And, you know, I grew up downloading MP3s and downloading movies and stuff. And like it helped shape my taste in such important ways to have access to that. So if someone is doing that with my stuff, I get it. I hope someday they buy something, but also I hope someday like they make something and put it out there. And that would be just as cool.
If you didn't listen to half of 90s hip hop with that weird little sound in it from like the LimeWire downloads, then you're not one of us. But
I had that experience the other day. Actually, speaking of what we're speaking on, I was listening to a song that I know originally got off LimeWire and it had an audio flaw in it. And I was ready to hear that audio because I had it was on like a disc I burned and I had it on repeat for like a year. And I was waiting for it and it was clean all the way through because I'm on Spotify now. I'm like, oh, wow, the old days.
Right. Or like, and the royalty-free music in After the Bomb is all from archive.org, which is a great website, a great resource. But so much of it has that record hiss because it was pulled off of record players.
Amazing.
And I know that's not the real version of the song, but those audio artifacts feel as important as the music, just to have that kind of, you can almost hear the uneven record going up and down around it, kind of chunking through. Yeah.
I randomly, like, my car doesn't have like an aux cable, so I have this like aux thing I have to plug into it, and I just didn't feel like doing it home from work the other day, and I randomly found this like classic channel, which is just all the shit I grew up like in high school listening to on the radio. So it's like, you know, Nelly and stuff. And I don't know if the radio edits, like, I think things are much less edited now, but remember those songs where they used to do sound effects as sensors? Mm-hmm. So it'd be like, it's the whole 24 hours a day. It's a classics, you know, like old school channel that plays all that. And everyone still has those 90s radio edits of just like a weird like
clucking or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. Especially like specifically the Nelly song plays like every day. And like half of it is just like random sound effects. And it's so good. But yeah, I mean, there's a whole lot of discourse around, you know, piracy and all this. I mean, if you buy a movie from a streaming service and they can take it away from you, and owning isn't owning, then piracy isn't stealing. You know, so you know, people, technology. We're in the new Napster age, I think. But you know, there's also
I should have set this up so you could see all my DVDs. I'm on the physical media train. I'm going to own this stuff.
That's so funny.
They're going to take it all away.
There's like a wall. We actually just got a VHS player this week, so now we're collecting VHSs. So
I can't. That's a step too far for me. But I appreciate and love. I mean, that's the other part of it too. Is like so much of that stuff is disappearing.
Yeah, and it's gone.
You know, the studios are happy to delete it from a server because then they don't have to pay for it. But like, what about historians? What about people who are interested in that stuff as an art form or a means of production? Like, you know, so many of video games are gone. The the store I work at, we sell stuff on eBay too, and we sell DVDs on eBay, and it's so funny. We will find some weird like horses of the upper Midwest, and it's on DVD, and it's worth $50 because there's only one of them, and then someone will buy it, and it's usually like a library. They're like, this information, this is the only source for this information, and we need it in our collection, so we are happy to pay $50 for this horse DVD. Please send it to us. So yeah, I think it's nice to keep track of those things and to have access to them. You know, I would not be surprised if 10 years from now, access to the internet is much less reliable. And so I'll be happy to have. This is my version of doomerism. What's it called?
Prepping?
Prepper. Yeah, I'm prepping.
Yeah.
I'm prepping for no internet. And so I will be able to watch, Sliders season 1 and 2 starring Jerry O'Connell at my leisure. And everyone in the neighborhood will know Sliders is on at Aaron's tonight. We're going over there. I'm just fantasizing about being popular because of my ownership of material
DVDs.
goods.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, it's interesting. We live in a time where we have more access to information than ever before, and more and more of it is becoming shitty and fake and terrible. And the more we get, and the more access and the more ability we have to even store it, doesn't matter. Like if it's not profitable, it's being deleted in ways that you really couldn't delete books before without burning entire libraries and cities and shit. So it's an insane. Things
are going great.
Yeah. Anyway, gosh, there was about 80 tangents that we could have just went off on like the last little bit. So I'm glad we just kept moving through. So Low-Res Futures, I know we talked about this a little bit before the podcast too. There's an AR aspect of this that's going to eventually come out, and there was some like maybe bonus content we might get.
Yeah, Max and I wrote a bunch of bonus content that would be AR accessible. If you like held a phone over this page, it would show this extra, whatever. If you go through In a Mirror Brightly, there's a bunch of Hands of Glory, like candle hands, all doing different poses. And those were the signals of like, here's where the AR content will be. And so that blank space is actually a secret ability. Unfortunately, Max has gotten very busy, got hired as a professor, had to move across Canada like 3 times. And he's the one with the game dev skills. So we haven't gotten to that. But I had completely forgotten about it. Thank you for reminding me. I will put out the extra content. But yeah, it's mostly extra player options, cool secrets, backgrounds. Like most of the backgrounds in the book are like, you were an artist, you were, just the stuff, you were a hacker, like in the Matrix or whatever. But then there's weird secret ones of like, you are a time traveler sent back to do whatever, and some secret abilities and stuff too. So we'll get those. Maybe not. Maybe I'll delete them from the server and no one will have access to them ever again.
You'll never know.
No.
Yeah. Just print one physical copy and stick it on a shelf somewhere. And then
you have to send me a self-addressed stamped envelope and I will send you a physical copy of the secret abilities.
I would honestly love that so fucking much if that was a thing that you had to do, because I would do it so fast.
Yeah. I have always wanted to do play-by-mail games. Like if you go to old issues of Dragon Magazine or whatever, it's like, send $5 to us and we'll send you this booklet of our campaign, and then you send in 1 move a month or whatever, and then we tell you what happens. I had started trying to write one of those. I am just like too depressed to reliably make it to the post office, so I don't think I could run one, but it appeals to me a lot. And there's a book, Wolf in White Van, by John Darnielle of the Mountain Goats, which is a fiction. It's a novel, but it is about a guy who sends out those moves, who lives at home and talks to people through letters through this weird game world that I really enjoyed. So
that sounds pretty cool.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, I want to do like I know that discussion came up in the RTFM Discord. Definitely go check out the RTFM Discord. A lot of amazing discussions happen in there about games and all the things that surround the gaming culture. but I really want to do like a physical game jam where everyone like makes something and then prints 20 of it and then sends it to somebody. And then whoever gets all of it together just takes one of everything. So there's 20 and then mails it back. So everyone gets one of everybody's. Like that would be such an amazing thing to do.
That used to be how fanzines were put together. Like, you know, Legion of Superheroes fanzine, everyone has one page front and back folded to, you know, write about your favorite ship or to review an issue or to write about your favorite artist. And then you would do that. You would send it all to one person and they would send it back out to the people. Yeah, it's one of those things that sounds like long distance intimate. It's just like a very nice culture and community project. But also it's a lot of work maybe, but it would be worth it. I don't know.
Yeah. I definitely like the idea, but I would never have the spoons to actually do it. So maybe someone better than me one day will do that. So I think we're going to hop into doing the Animator Brightly. Aaron, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show and chatting with us today.
Pleasure to see you.
Permanent invitation. Always would love to have you on. Everything you put out, you know, we devour here and really enjoy everything you do and the way that you and Max both think about games. Anyone here on the show, you know, we've talked about the RTFM Discord before. You guys are much you and Max are much better and smarter about games than we are, and we really love to listen to
Max
your stuff.
Max is a professor. I'm just a nobody, but
no, I'm just
well,
a
that's
nobody,
what I got going
Aaron
on too.
King.
I got this guy, and I'm like, I just crack jokes, you know.
No,
there was we submitted RTFM to the Ennies, and so to do that, you have to like make a best of clip thing, and the whole clip was like Max saying smart things or our guests saying smart things. And then me just doing like weird fucking goblin voices in the introductions and stuff. It just gave such a skewed idea. Well, maybe not skewed. Maybe I am kind of the show goblin. But yeah, RTFM comes out every 2 weeks. Each episode is about a single book. I think we have like 61 episodes right now in the main feed. So you can go back and listen. We've done GURPS. We've done Traveler, sort of. We did a lost episode on Traveler. But right now we are doing, again, a sexy season. So we're doing Anal Wizards. We covered Vice and Violence, which is like a super fun dungeon crawler game wrapped in this like porn art, online porn art. That's actually also really good art.
A lot of tits and dicks. Like,
yeah, very explicit. But it's also like one of the best fantasy adventure RPGs I've ever read.
It's really good. The layout's great. The mechanics are neat. And then
I've not read that one.
Oh, you'll get it.
I mean, before starting the show, we were talking about Anal Wizards because like that's such a cleverly and well done project that I would really encourage anyone to check it out if you want just like a solo comic-esque choose your own adventure game.
Yeah. And Vice and Violence, I think, is free. The artist goes by Rapscallion. You can just find it on their Twitter, like a Google Drive link to one of the most professional and nice looking RPG books I've ever seen, but is full, you know, content warning, is full of naked people. So, yeah.
So is life, though, you know.
So we all come into this world naked.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave it that way.
Yeah. Trust me, you will. But yeah, definitely check out RTFM. We'll put the links down there. It's something I look forward to listening to all the time, and definitely check out the Patreon as well. It's only like $1. You can check out a lot of really interesting episodes that are usually specific to Patreon. I know you guys occasionally drop them onto the main channel as well, but definitely check out that. It's one of our favorite podcasts here on the show. And again, always appreciate you. Always, permanent invitation. If you ever have anything coming out, please let us know.
We gotta get
we'll
you on RTFM
and chat about it again.
Hell yeah.
You're on our list. We just, again,
you're on the list.
You're on the list. We have a list. But RTFMcast.com. Dune episode drops tomorrow on the Patreon feed where we talk about the book, the movies. Maybe we talk about Spice World. I don't remember because I accidentally got drunk while we were recording that episode.
Nice.
So if that's something that sounds appealing, there it is. If it sounds unappealing, believe me, I get it. But yeah, thank you for having me. I am going to go eat some lunch.
Nice.
Cool. All right. If you guys are listening, stick around. We'll be back in just a moment, and we will be going over Animator Brightly. So, BRB. Hello, we are back for the Weekly Stroll podcast. Thanks so much, Aaron, for coming on. Once again, Aaron motherfucking King, the RTFM podcast. Woo, is one of my favorite listens. Listen to it all the time at work. So definitely check out that. As I said, all of the links to all of that will be down there below. And you definitely want to go back. All of the Bootleg Fest zines. Super worth it. Aaron is very, let's say, a little bit self-deprecating. They are an incredible TTRPG mind. Love the way that they think about games, and the games that they put together are really fantastic. So always see those, always check those out, and definitely go to the itch and support them with that stuff. So speaking of that, we are going to be going over In a Mirror Brightly from who's it by? Oh yeah, Aaron King. This is a fantastic game. Let's go to this and make sure it's up. Boop, there it is.
Also, great shape on the book. Just throwing it out there. Good, weird book shape. Love this.
Yep.
It's like it makes it so easy to find it on my bookshelf because I was like, oh yeah, because I read the digital, which is weird. I don't know why I did that, but I went to go look for it. I was like, gotta find it for the show. I'm like, oh yeah, it stands right out. So.
Well, I mean, I think both of these, if I remember correctly, were based off of CyberMetal 2012, which is also an incredibly similar book shape. So I wonder.
I also have an easy time finding on my bookshelf.
Yeah. I assume that was part of the inspiration of the shape as well, to be inspired to since it's similar to the shape. I think it's either the exact same shape or maybe like a little bit kind of taller than CyberMetal 2012. Yeah, grab that and we'll see if it's exactly the same or not. Is it the same? Boom! Look at that. Now, exactly. So, In a Mirror Brightly was originally part of the Low-Res Futures 2 RPGs 1 Flipbook on Kickstarter. Millenarian Cyber Witchcraft Augmented Reality Death Games from 1990X, put out from Aaron King and Max Lander. Funded successfully on February 16th, 2023, so just a little bit more than a year ago. As we said, it is a flip book. So for those in podcast land that can't see this, when you look at one side of it, and the shape, we said the shape, but we didn't say the shape. It's CyberMetal 2012. So it's kind of like A5, but like sideways. So the binding's on the left and it's long ways, horizontally.
It's a long boy.
One side, it's a long boy. One side, when you look at it, says In a Mirror Brightly. And when you flip it directly over, it says Hand Baskets Competition Rulebook. One by Max, one by Aaron. This was funded, like I said, on February 16th, 2023. We got it physically in hand. It was like the end of last year. We've had it for a little bit.
October, November-ish, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. This is one we wanted to look at for a while, partly because we love Aaron and Max, and partly because both games are super cool and we love CyberMetal 2012. And this is just a very unique game. If we ever actually put stuff out, I would love for us to put something out like this.
That'd be cool. I would do that with you. That'd be
dope.
In a Mirror Brightly is a great, weird game, by the way. I rolled up a character as I read through it. I really enjoyed the life path characters and the weird abilities you can get as we go through it. It feels like playing this would be, I don't want to say zany. That's not the word I'm looking for, but it would be a really fun, weird, trippy experience at my table. That's how we do it,
Absolutely. And I love the cover. I love the design. It's so out there. It's like a kind of collage, and it's got these very, very bright colors, these greens, these purples, these pinks, these oranges. It's bold. The cover shows like an atomic explosion with In a Mirror Brightly on it in this warped font. There's a Hand of Glory that Aaron was talking about, giving the middle finger. There's a hurry up, offer expires sticker on the front. The itch page describes it as a game of millenarian magical rebellion. Wake up from the drudgery of everyday life in 1990X, and fight for the best future you can imagine, inspired by The Matrix, The Invisibles, and Mage the Awakening, and using mechanics inspired by CyberMetal 2012. Players will fight the power with tech, hex, and sex. $5 on itch, and then also if you got the physicals from
$5 on itch,
$5. Aaron needs to charge more for their stuff.
Yeah, you need to knock this up a few bucks at least. This is I did thoroughly enjoy this one. I also really like Aaron's writing. and it's just like the tone that that they have when they explain things to you.
Yeah. They again, very self-deprecating in their like, oh, I'm just someone other, except that like everything they make is fantastic. Patchwork World is fantastic. This is great. Like,
I'm just some person. Yeah, no, you're great at the stuff that you do. You should.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know. So I don't know. I'm physically flipping through this as I'm looking at the PDF. That's not something I do. I'm going to put that off to the side.
I started to do the same thing, and I was like, oh, I should open a PDF.
But it's just so fun because of the shape. It was so fun because this is another one that I definitely decided to just like put on some weird music and sit in the living room and like physically flip through because it was such a fun shape to flip through.
Yeah, I just put on the Doctor Who theme song just on repeat. You know.
There you go.
Ooh-wee.
I don't even remember. I definitely put on some weird, like techno industrial something. So let me get a lot of these.
Yeah, we're doing great, guys. We're doing great this episode.
We're killing it.
We're killing it.
This one, I'm just gonna do full pages on each, obviously. So you'll notice a little chop at the bottom and top. No one cares about that but me, but it's there, and I pointed it out too.
No one
so
cares.
First and foremost, do we have no bookmarks? But so I was talking to Aaron about this a little bit before, and I think we need to talk about this before. Is this a book or zine? It's 37 pages.
This is a zine.
We're gonna go zine scoring, right?
Yeah, this is zine. I mean, this is incredibly lightweight. It is. Yeah, it's like 37 pages. A lot of the pages, there's one thing or two things on a page. It's very like stylistically done. It looks really great. That's not a complaint or knock against it. But yeah, this is definitely a zine. If we compressed all this down, it's like a more traditional like layout, it'd be like incredibly short.
Well, yeah, I mean it's 37 pages, and starting on page 31, so really it's only 30 pages, and like you said, some things there's only like literally one paragraph, so it would be 15-20 pages max, including the adventure, and we're only going over about 30 pages, and then Max's side of the book only goes out to I think like 33-34 pages. So so we'll do zine scoring for this, which no one gives a fuck. We care, and it's just because we do the scores at the end really as a way to condense like our thoughts down into realistically, you don't even listen to us talk. You can just jump to the scores and hear all of our thoughts. But that's why we do it. Yeah.
Sometimes when I review our episodes, I just skip to the end. I'm like, what did we say?
Funny enough, based on the analytics on YouTube, a lot of people do that. So thank you at least for listening to that part. So In a Mirror Brightly, a game by Aaron King. Wake up. You are about to step through the magic mirror. You'll leave your previous life behind, take one last look at it, and roll 1d20. So this page really kind of defines a lot of the way that the art and layout are throughout the entire thing. I know you don't need a massive art budget to have a good game, and if you think you do, then I think that shows a lack of confidence in your game writing. I'll just throw that out for those that are deep enough to care that I just said that. But the layout was fantastic. It's a lot of comic strips and obviously like either public domain art chopped together. It's very bright. Max's side of the book is very black, white, red, this is bright yellows, bright oranges, cyans, magentas, really, really far out there. And it starts with character creation, then goes into rules. So why don't you kick us off? Because I think the way we've kind of fallen into the way we review is I usually do rules, you usually do character creation. So why don't you kick us off? We do start with character creation here.
So it says already we roll 1d20. Would you like to roll?
Yeah, fuck it, yeah.
Oh.
You can walk me through character creation. So I will roll 1d20. I rolled 14.
14. You're an influencer. The worst thing you could possibly be.
Honestly, probably the second worst thing on this list.
Yeah, the first worst thing is a cop. So
yeah, exactly. I'm glad we're on the same page with that.
Yesterday I rolled a guru, and today I rolled a union organizer. So doing okay here. So
What's funny is I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna roll another one and just see what happens. I rolled a 14 again. So influencer it is.
Influencer it is. So yeah, I didn't take distinctive like deep notes on this. It's a fairly short game, and like it's totally fine to read it. Usually I've been taking more notes so we can paraphrase, but you're gonna write down the result of whatever you rolled, and you're gonna put 30 next to it. When you try to solve a problem using skills regarding your former life because you've awakened to a new, you're gonna roll a D100, and if you roll lower than the number, you succeed. It says here, your world is bigger now. It's multiplicitive. The secret masters of the world slice it up and divide it, eating it up or folding and hiding those pieces that would bring joy to others. You must discover and unfold the sacred geometries. Pull them from the guts of the secret masters. Use what you find to free your fellow humans from their shackles. Return power to those who it has been taken from. Hold a mirror up to the world, let it recoil, let it step through, and smash the glass to cut the throats of those who refuse to look. One big thing I really love about this game is that it just implies there's a bigger, deeper world. That could mean a lot of things. You could play this as a Matrix game. You could play this as like a weird, like almost like acid mages where you're taking drugs to reach a higher understanding. There's a lot of room for whatever the expansiveness of your weird world is.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I like that if you look at, it's funny because if you look at the influences, you're like, oh yeah, that totally goes together, but they're kind of polar opposites. Like the Matrix versus Mage the Ascension. It's like this, like the tech versus magic, but it really takes you to the same place, which is just like behind the curtain,
Yeah.
So yeah, I really love,
Yeah. You can't see if you're listening, but I'm making like that chopping motion under my neck. I'm like shaking my head really vigorously. Moving on, we have a cool art page that has this hand with
the glory.
What's up?
The hand of glory. You know what a hand of glory is, right?
I know what's a hand of glory.
Hand of glory is it's a magical artifact. Oftentimes it's like it's a thing you'll put together. Depending on the lore, it's like you have to use like chop the hand off of a person who is executed at midnight for murdering somebody or whatever, and you do all of this insane. Like you could literally have a whole magical quest just about all the things you have to put together to have this hand of glory, and the fingers like are flames and you literally cannot put them out except that you can use them for like basically black magic rituals and shit. So the hand of glory is literally like an extremely powerful like arcane like witchy magic
that seems
object.
Like a thing I would know.
It is.
Of all I
actually have like candles of like hands of glory, like multiple ones, like
that's so cool.
Just chilling.
Actually, too, magic-y boy. Go ahead.
Yeah. Aaron actually, they added it to the itch page and then just sent me the link. But they sent us all of the AR content. Yeah.
So what's on this page?
So I'm gonna download it right now. Or I'll read it directly off of here. So let me see if it's written out by page number. Oh, some of it's not. But so I assume this one says Hand of Glory. Behold the Hand of Glory, a mysterious object that is possibly the cursor of a 5-dimensional god that plays our reality like a video game. It has the power to reach through the text we call reality and alter it at its most basic level. Each player has one Hand of Glory that they can turn in during character creation or play. Doing so lets them unlock new character options or choose outcomes instead of rolling them. Once the Hand of Glory is used, it disappears from local reality, but perhaps one can be found again. Turn in your Hand of Glory to unlock 4 more background options and choose one from among the full 24 for your character. So when we get to backgrounds, I'll add in those extra. I'll tell you those extra 24. Oh wait, turn in your Hand of Glory to unlock this dangerous school of abilities. Yeah, when you get to backgrounds, I'll read the backgrounds. Read to abilities, I'll read the abilities. And then there's like a whole other tarot building thing too. I'll send you this too.
Sick. Cool. Wait, are the backgrounds the life paths that you start with, or is this is 24? You already start with 20.
A weekly scroll exclusive from Aaron King here on the show, going over. I just dropped it to you.
So the backgrounds that are unlocked are time traveler, ghost, future messiah, and fictional character made real, or real person made fictional, depending on your perspective. That's actually a super interesting twist to your game too. Like, yeah, you're a fictional character that's real. It's like, well, in my world, actually you guys are the fictional people. Very cool. Moving on to abilities. It looks like we have some extra ones to unlock as well, but I'm going to read it out straight and then we'll look at the extra ones. So, your character will have a number of skills and abilities gained by rolling on the life path below. They also have a trait called commitment, which starts at 100. Commitment measures your devotion to your cause and your distance from the life you left behind. Your commitment might fall as you're wounded in the line of battle or made cynical, obsessed, anger. It's not quite HP, but it's kind of a catch-all for your, commitment. It is commitment to the cause, to the belief that you hold now, and the distance from just going back, giving up. For abilities, you gain ability. To gain abilities, you're going to roll 1d6 to find the resulting school, and then roll 1d4 to gain an ability from that school. After that, pick a second school and an ability, preferably one that no other player got. If you gain a skill in this process, it starts at 40. Remember, this is a D100 roll under. If you get a skill you already have, increase it by 5. Ryan, would you like to roll a skill? I'll roll one too.
Yeah.
It's D6 and D4.
I'm going to give me 1 second real quick. I'm going to... Aaron sent it as a text doc, so I'm just going to kind of reformat that a tiny bit so I can actually throw that up on the screen too. Just because the way text doc, it goes forever if the sentence goes forever, so I just need to space down a little bit. Okay, cool. So yes, the abilities. So it's a 1d6 to kick off the abilities,
D6
right?
and D4.
Okay, so I got a 5 and a 3.
Nice. Philosophics, is that what it says? Am I dumb?
Philosophics, yep.
Okay, cool. Just making sure. And you said you rolled a 4?
I rolled a 5 and a 3.
5 and 3. Refusal. Gain the semantics and rhetoric skill. Once per mission, lose 5 commitment and explain why something the GM has described doesn't actually exist. It thusly does not exist. Which is a great one. I rolled a 6 and a 3, so I got machines and I got God and the machine that gain the religion skill. Once a mission, ask a question of a machine. It must answer truthfully and in your best interest. So those are really interesting powers here. There's in the magic skills, you get consume filth, which you can live off human waste. You never get sick. You can take in the negative thoughts of other people and gain an extra skill, plus 10 towards a skill check. There's some really weird ass cool shit right here. I love this section.
Yeah, there's some really... All right, so I threw that up, so we'll be able to go to that when we do it. I really like what, am I going the wrong way? Yeah. So there's 6 of each and then 4 in each one. This is pretty short. Did you have any favorites as we went through this to get your abilities and the skills that come with it?
The magic one is the consume filth is, I think, my favorite because it's just so unbelievably uncomfortable. There's a lot of really cool stuff in the ESP tree. And I think those are my favorite. Those kind of fall in line with what I like. And the weirder you can make magic and the more uncomfortable it becomes, the more I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. ESP and magic are both really, really cool. The pleasure one's interesting. I know that Aaron's saying that they're doing the sex season over on RTFM. So there's a whole one that's pleasure. So did you say the 6? It's ESP, magic, pleasure, violence, philosophics, machines.
I did not. I don't know why I didn't say all 6, but...
And a special 7. That in a second. But the pleasure one's interesting because I like how there's one that's like sex, and that's fine. It's easy to chop that out.
Yeah.
But it basically says you can, if you can get yourself or somebody else off, you can do a bunch of magical stuff. And if everyone consents, the more people you get. Basically, if you go like getting yourself off is the weakest and having like a massive orgy would be the strongest. The more people you can get into your sex ritual, the more magical it will be, as long as everyone understands and gives full consent, which is interesting. I know that there's, you know, discourse around sex and stuff. I mean, I'm definitely a person who generally does not have sex and stuff in the game. It's because I'm like a middle-aged white dude, and it always feels weird, you know, to be like, hey, one girl that's at the table, you know. But yeah, I like that it's no desire, carouse, and pharmacist. So there's literally talking about like the gourmand skill. So it's like eating. Pharmacist is about drugs. So there's a wide plethora of pleasure. And I really, really like that one a lot. That was really fun to dig into. And then the violence one, is another one of my favorites. The gun one is one of my favorites. Because you get the gun skill and you immediately decrease your commitment by 10. So we haven't really talked about commitment a lot in the game yet, but it's kind of like your ability to kind of stay in it. So I really like.
No, we did. I said almost exactly that. You were editing the document.
Ah, okay. Well, good job. But I really like how basically like having a gun automatically like takes you out of the magic a little bit.
Yeah.
I think that's a really interesting like ingrained set into the rules there. It's really cool.
And the secret one, because there is a secret one, is the seventh one. If you turn in your Hand of Glory, you get meta mechanics. You gain the cartomancy skill, which is fortune telling. And at the start of a mission, you roll a d10 and set it aside. Once during a mission, you can replace a die roll you made. Alternatively, use the die to deal damage or set a fallout. Explain how your prediction put your enemy in the wrong place at the wrong time. The skills there are going to be mirror image, downscale, choke fate. Or sorry, divination, mirror image, downscale, and choke fate. Choke fate's interesting because you do not gain a skill from this one, but at any time you can lower your commitment by 10 to declare the fallout of a roll before the player rolling assigns dice.
It's neat. Cool. It's a good secret one.
Yeah, I really like these secret ones. They're very interesting to go through.
And I love, God, can I just say, like, when we were going over when we talked with Aaron and Max originally about this, and it's such a cool idea to have built-in AR stuff. I know if you go to the Kickstarter page, you can see a little bit of like how they like were showing over it. And to just basically be like, anytime you see this hand, just like look through the app and you'll see extra shit is so fucking cool. I've seen some other games where they do that like a little bit, or there's like barcodes that will take you to a website or something like that. But that's really neat that if you just, because aside from that one page, which is completely blank except for the Hand of Glory, except when you look at it, I'm sure it's like a huge like write up on it. You wouldn't have even noticed this. It just looks like a cool piece of art next to it, but like you get the bonus shit. That's really neat.
And not to scroll through too quickly through all these, but visually this is such a great section. Like everything looks so good. Like the colors are so vibrant, very dynamic. Like I really enjoy the way that this looks.
Well, it's cool, kind of almost just juxtaposition a little bit too of like the layout is clearly inspired by like DOS, like Windows, like the font, the boxes, even some of the boxes have little like X's in the top corner to get rid of them. But then the colors are so vibrant. So it's this really neat mix of like almost like magic-y weirdness mixed with like tech computerness. That's like kind of a little bit jarring in a cool way.
It reminds me of what like computers look like in Cowboy Bebop, you know?
Yeah.
Cool. Ryan, you want to tell us about experience?
Oh, sure. So experience. You might not be new to this life. You can choose one result and roll for up to 2 additional results on the following table, each one representing 6 to 12 months passing since you quote unquote awakened, which could be anyway. For each result past the first chosen one, lower your commitment by 10. So that automatically tells you like you don't have to choose a bunch if you don't want. Like this is an optional rule, but you decrease your commitment. Kind of to show that you've already been here. When you gain a skill from these tables, it starts at 40. If it's a skill you already have, increase the skill by 5. So there are, I believe it's just 4. There is travel, field training, research, and double agent. So 2d4s. What did you get for yours?
I rolled a 4 and a 3. So that puts me at double agent. And I can vomit forth a swarm of ghost tech insects once per mission. They can attack everyone in the area once, eat through something, consume it completely, or provide cover. Great one.
It's one of my favorite on the entire thing. I'm glad you rolled that. I rolled a 3 and a 1. So I got research, and then it says gain a skill of your choice. Psychogeography, media, history, medicine, symbolism, or technology. So some of those are referenced back in the abilities. Like you get a skill, but then there's other things you get in your abilities, but some of them aren't. I really like, I'm like, how am I going to explain psychogeography? But like, I like that it's not super defined. We've talked about this a bunch in games recently, how like, if you leave stuff open, it's super fun. I don't need 10 pages of your 400-page book to tell me exactly how to do every little thing. So I really like how there's some broadness to this.
I love a system where I'm like, when something like comes up and I just Google the term, and then I just sit with my friends. I'm like, how are we going to call this one? We'll call it like this. That's how it works now. I don't know.
That's so cool.
I think I've been playing some TCGs more recently that are smaller than Magic the Gathering, that also like are this like, hey, you should like table rule this, you know, like not everything should be written out. You and your friends should have your own version of doing this, you know. So I do really appreciate that. We don't need that much scaffolding. I know some people do. I think this is a great project for like, super minimal. You don't need, if you want to figure out how this works, decide, you know?
Yeah. You know, and again, if you do need more, that's totally fine. You know, I do think that we should eventually just have an episode on scaffolding and like the way that games are needed for it, and why people are fine staying where they're at, but like the reason that scaffolding exists is to eventually remove it because you no longer need it. You know, progress.
Progress.
That was experience. What about contacts?
Contacts. So hey, you have a connection to the everyday world. In the everyday world, strangers become something more in mundane ways. Neighbors, accidents, chance encounters at basement concerts. On the other side of the looking glass, things are exponentially stranger. Contacts exist to put the players directly into the most exciting part of the mission. They exist to circumvent the boring bureaucracies that we normal humans have to endure. Looking at addresses, waiting on hold. I do like the looking at addresses one, because I can totally see that as like a, you know, like we gotta find out where this is. It's like, I call my buddy and it's like, I'll find it for you, you know? I feel like in those like almost like crime drama shows, you have the one hacker person. That's what they do. And the action still is going on in the show, and then they get a phone call. It's like, hey, I found this area. And I really enjoy stuff like that. They also add some dramatic social interaction to a game. And basically here it's just saying that like you can have an arc with these contacts where like you use them multiple times and you get to know them. And then out of that comes its own small adventure or mission. Maybe they get kidnapped. Maybe they turn on you. Like there's a lot of potential for like, social drama. The tables are provided to help all the players generate contacts as needed. If someone gets a contact from their experience roll, they can choose options or roll for them. When it comes to contacts, a roll result that feels a little off might signal to the player that it's time to choose a result that makes more sense. Love that. Hey, roll for it. If your roll does not make sense, go ahead and just choose one. And then they have some fucking great names. My favorite ones from these names of contact is there's several. There's Cash Daddy.
I was like, you better say that one first. That's my favorite.
Cash Daddy is, and there's Trismegis's, Cyberska, Sir Walter, and then the last one's just Banksy. You just know him, you know. There's a lot of
Mother
really
Dearest.
Cool ones. Yeah,
just
Mother
call me
Dearest.
Mommy. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think like, there's also one's just an email address. It's the apple of my eye at treemail.com. Like, really super clever. Like, it very much fits in. And also, like, when you have contacts, there's like, it makes a lot of sense for them to be like dubious characters or eccentric characters, you know? I think that little blurb of names, it killed me. Do you want to roll for a thing?
I do.
It's a D8.
Yeah. Okay, so 1d8. Remind me to go back over a character thing real quick. Then when we're done.
No.
I got a 6. I got a 6.
Yeah, 6. That's coworker. You did the same thing together for a while. When you moved on, they stayed there. Specialist, blue collar, saboteur, supplier. A couple. It has a little. All of them have like 4 kind of leading questions under them for you to help flesh out your contact. The ones here are what useful industry do they work in? How do they get you the info? Next one is what is their connection to other everyday workers? And how do they rile them into action? What enemy workplace are they undercover in? Do they sabotage them? And the last one is what useful supplies can they filch for you? And what do you offer in return? But the other ones are you have mentor, mentee, family, romance, correspondent, competition, and haunting. Haunting is a great one. You're just haunted. And then material ghost, some like weird vibes, you know. It's really great.
So
it
cool.
Really leans into the bizarre, like otherworldly through the mirror, through the looking glass vibe.
Yeah, absolutely. On going back to experience, there's a Hand of Glory there with the thumbs down.
Oh, that was a Hand of Glory.
Yeah. So I think of this character. I think all the Hand of Glories are in character creation. I don't think there are any after the character creation. So I believe it's the tarot character building. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll fuck it, we'll do it live. Let me expand this. So the tarot character building. The tarot is the universe in miniature, and since the universe contains and we it, it can be used to generate your character. Since both backgrounds and abilities have 24 options, and in parentheses here it says we cannot speak of locked abilities. You can map them to the major arcana and draw a 3-card spread, your background, 2 abilities. Holy shit, I'm definitely doing this. This is sick. As an initiative into the mysteries, you know that the major arcana only number 22, and you have 2 options. Remove 2, each of the backgrounds and abilities, your choice, or dig deep into yourself to produce the forgotten arcana, the beggar and the fountain. Then spread a meditative moment, assign each option to an arcana, draw, and proceed. Sorry, it says then spend a meditative moment, not spread. Spend a meditative moment. Fucking, that's great. This is amazing.
How sick is that? Yeah.
It's so unbelievably good. It's so great.
That's so cool. I would definitely... Dude, the playing this game and definitely leaning a little bit more into like the mage weirdness of it, like pulling out one of the Hand of Glory candles and doing a tarot spread for your abilities before you like step through the mirror. That'd be dope as fuck.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna hand draw the fountain and the beggar as well, you know. I'm gonna cut out my own tarot cards. I think we're on to experience, and I've lost
past
my
that. No, we're to adjudicating rules.
We're to adjudicating roles. Right.
All right, adjudicating roles. So roles should. I love this. Is so one of my favorite. I've said this a billion times. One of my favorite things ever is the explanation of like when to roll. Like I'm gonna get it fucking tattooed on me at some point. But there's a million ways to say the same thing. This is one of my favorite ways.
This is a good one.
It's such a good one because a lot of people want to. You can explain it in a sentence, and I think that's totally fine. This one takes it and goes just a little bit more with it. So I'm going to go through all of it. So it says roll should happen when the following are true. And there's 3 things underneath it. When the outcome is unclear, when success is interesting, when failure is interesting. And then there's a box explaining this. I'm going to steal this, Aaron. So if less than 3 are true, consider the following. So basically all 3, in order to roll, all 3 should be a thing. So if it's less than that, I'm going to stop putting my elbows on the keyboard. I was banging the camera there for a second. If less than 3 are true, consider the following. If the outcome is clear, just have that outcome happen. No need to roll. Thank you. If success is uninteresting, work with the other players to choose an interesting failure that puts someone in a position where a roll could happen. If failure is uninteresting, work with the other players to choose an interesting success that puts someone in a position where a roll could happen. And it says, note that interesting, quote unquote, does not always mean best, quote unquote. These meanings will vary from group to group, which is why it's important to work toward an outcome with your fellow players. I fucking love this page.
This reminds me of Patchwork Worlds in a way, and wish that when I read something Aaron King has wrote, I am better at explaining and playing games. You know,
Yes.
like, oh, I just got better at doing this.
Yes.
And yeah, this is one that I feel like people should steal this. If you don't take anything from this book, and I feel like there's a lot of really great in here to take from, you should take this.
Yeah. Well, so we have our own opinions on PBTA and all the things that claim to be. I understood how to play PBTAs. Not necessarily like run, yes, but I mean the GM tools in Apocalypse World are my favorite part of it. Yeah. I'm not going to say that. I'll keep the rest to myself. But playing the game, I got so much better. Aaron has this incredible way of explaining things in a concise way that you thought you understood, but is better because, like we've said over and over, we love brevity, we love rules light stuff, and just saying the only roll when this is the thing, we go, yeah, we get it, and then you read this and go, oh, like we got it, but this explains it in such a way that like makes it so much easier to absorb and communicate. And Patchwork World does have a PBTA. This does this with like the core role for like every fucking TTRPG. It's such a, again, just a clean, concise, clear, well communicated way for something that we all thought we knew and know a little bit better now, just like you said. So it's great.
I don't know why, but I specifically love the line that if the outcome is clear, then it just happens. Like,
yeah,
you're like, yeah, you just don't need to roll for every guy. I mean, I'm already like I've been through a whole session where we roll twice, but it's great to put that there. I mean, the whole blurb is great, but amazing part.
It's so good. So the rest is all of the core mechanics of the game. Again, this is adapted from CyberMetal 2012, which is a D100 system, which is basically, it's a D100 roll under. And when a player rolls, they roll a D100 with the intention of scoring equal to or under an applicable skill. We talked about skills and everything that you got with your abilities and everything like that. They want to roll as high as possible within that range, though with a roll equal to their skill level being a critical hit. So critical hits would be you have a 1 in 100 chance of getting a crit, basically, according to this, with a roll equal to their skill level being a crit. So if you have a 40, you have to roll a 40 to get it. If the player doesn't have an applicable skill, they can still try to roll equal to or under a 10, which is considered an application of dumb luck or divine intervention. So a 1 in 10 chance, basically. Some enemies and obstacles are resistant to attempts to overcome them. For instance, while any successful gun roll is enough to harm an idiot cosplaying as a mercenary, a trained servant of the outer insects decked in 4D liquid armor is a bit harder to hit. When this is the case, the obstacle has a threshold. The player must roll equal to or above this threshold while still rolling under their skill. For example, Gideon is trying to shoot the aforementioned armored enemy, Colonel Friday. Colonel Friday, right? The servant of the outer insects decked in 40 liquid armor, Colonel Friday.
Obviously.
Yeah, obviously. Friday's threshold is 60 and Gideon's gun skill is 80. This means that Gideon will need a 61 to 80 to successfully harm the Colonel with a gun. That's on one half the page. That's the core mechanics. I love how the second part of the mechanics explains and tweaks it a little bit more. So it says right at the top, kind of in parentheses, if you're having trouble wrapping your mind around this, it's Price is Right rules. Like, closest without going over, right? As long as you go over the threshold. But I like the part below. And again, we've talked about some parts of this in CyberMetal 2012. We're not referencing that. We're reading this game as this game. So, however, there are multiple ways to increase that band of numbers. Basically, it says it's a roll under game. So you don't necessarily fail if you also roll under the bad guy's threshold. You just don't succeed, right? But what you do is give the next person a bonus. So it says if a player rolls under their target number but also under the target's threshold, they identify a weakness or set up an ally for success, and the next ally to target the enemy can choose to either raise their effective skill by 10 or lower the enemy's threshold by 10. Both of these are only applied to the next roll. So I love that you still succeeded. Technically, you succeeded super well but not within the threshold. So instead of doing damage, you just give the next person a bonus, which is great.
Yeah. I also just we need to really roll it back to that was it the a servant of the outer insects wearing 4D liquid armor. I read that and I was like, nice, perfect. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Also, if a player has a number of applicable skills, they can use the highest one and increase it by 5. For instance, if a player's background is cop, reroll, and they're using the gun skill, they can usually treat their gun skill as 5 higher due to it being bolstered by their time as a police officer. However, this likely only applies to the gun they used while a cop, guns which are unfortunately becoming larger and more varied in the US. I'm going to move on from that. So one last way to increase your target number only applies to the background skill you first wrote. You can choose to lose 10 commitment and describe a scene from your old life to increase that skill by 20% for a single roll. Yes, Aaron, ACAP. After a roll is made, the player will assign each of the 2 dice that make up a D100 roll to one of 2 components, damage and fallout. If the roll is successful, the damage is dealt to the target. Damage is an abstraction for overcoming an obstacle, so it doesn't have to be a literal wound, which is my favorite way that things do damage. It can also represent physically eroding the illusory cloak, hiding a base, outdancing a competitor, or anything else. We said this already. Aaron writes in a concise way that is so fucking vibey.
Yeah. Like, it's not implied lore, which there is maybe like a touch of with like the liquid armor guide and stuff, but like, what am I trying to say? There is like this implication in the way that rules are written, and it really expands how you think about how things can shake out when using said rules like this. I mean, it's just a contest. Like anything can be a contest. I can make it. I mean, we could have a battle of the bands right now. We could do a skate off. Yeah. Where were we? Where did we end off? The roll is successful.
But what I was saying specifically about this part was the two examples chosen for damage, right, as an abstraction. One is physically eroding the illusory cloak, hiding a base. One is outdancing a competitor. And that's just not going to not crack me up. You know, it's a cool way to do it. So if your roll is a failure, the damage is the amount your commitment is reduced by. So again, damage is an abstraction. And if you fail, you just continue to reduce the commitment. So again, commitment is your ability to kind of stay within this magical world, as far as I read it. And the more kind of jaded you get with it and everything, you lose. So damage is all an abstraction based on your commitment.
Commitment's also the distance from your old life. And so I feel like there's a lot of like interesting narrative implications for some of those like backgrounds for like, falling back into your old life, especially the cop. It's like, you just go back to being a piece of shit cop. But, you know, like I'm getting so jaded and angry. I'm going to go back to, you know, No cop listens to this show at this point.
we haven't got a good hate comment in a while. I still need to put that. I need to put that one on a t-shirt. So anyway, Fallout indicates how the story of your characters and the world around them changes based on your actions. It's all narrative, and the Fallout happens based on the table below. I will say a couple of times, Aaron says below, but it's sideways. But that's a common thing that happens in games all the time. I think it's just the way we all write in Word straight down.
Google Docs.
Google Docs. Yeah. So it's a 1 to 3, 4 to 7, and 8 to 10 table. Why don't you roll me a quick Fallout, and we'll explain this a little bit.
I rolled a 9.
Damn.
Yeah, it's going to shit. Something explodes. Your enemy gets reinforcements. The boss has a second, stronger form. The consequence of your selfishness becomes evident.
Yeah, so that's the worst possible outcome.
Yeah.
The other options, 1 through 3, things are good, or at least beautiful. Again, like the way this is exactly my point with the way that Aaron writes, where it's just like there's so much said in so few words that I like it. It's that Midwest passive aggressiveness coming through in the writing. That's what it is. Circumstances are going in your favor. You see a useful object, learn an important fact, an alarm goes quiet. You look hot. or the environment changes to look strange and lovely. 4 to 7, friction is building and turning gross. A fire starts, a bystander is drawn in, something isn't as easy as you thought. Sights and smells turn evil and distracting, and people witness you doing something embarrassing or selfish. And we already talked about 8 through 10 go into shit. So Fallout consequences should build naturally and be telegraphed. There's an example here basically saying that on a 4 through 7, you see things going bad. On an 8 through 10, something does go bad. So telegraph these things ahead of time as Fallout gets worse. The default table works in most situations. Feel free to adapt it any way you want, including changing the numbers if things are more difficult or easier or whatnot, which is really easy to do with the D10. That's one thing that's great about D100 systems. I know I'm a big 2d6 boy, but I think D100 would be my next thing before we even get to D20 roll under, just because I think you've said this over and over again. The numbers become so easy when it's just a percentage.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes, they are incredibly easy to figure math.
Yeah. And then do you want to do commitment damage limit in the game?
Yeah.
Or keep going?
Yeah, absolutely. So you start with 100 commitment, which we said a few times, and there aren't many ways to regain it. We've talked about losing it a lot by either like taking damage quotes or using it as a resource to in concert with your skills. Yeah, it says do with the information as you will. Live fast and die young, or play it safe and stretch out what time you have. Locally, most of your enemies will have less durability. When you successfully use a skill to hurt them, you deal damage as described above. When you reach 0, you're done. You might not be dead, or you might be dead, or you might not be. Or you might just turn back to your old life, or turn your back on this revolution that you're a part of.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I will say I have one question about if you want to go through the unless part. I did have a question. Hopefully Aaron's still in chat.
Unless this is unless one of your allies permanently sacrifices an ability to bring you back. They lose this ability and can never regain it. They describe how the usage of this ability brings you back from the edge, or a contact you've worked with betrays you. They let you live out of respect for your previous relationships, but they won't be so forgiving next time, and they will bring all their knowledge of you to bear. Or you decide to join the other side, in which case your character becomes an enemy, though with a slim possibility of future redemption.
I love all these. This is a fantastic way to do this, especially the third one where like you're a bad guy, but then maybe something happens and you get like a good roll. So my question is, so once you hit 0 commitment, you're out, you're gone, right? Unless one of these things happens, but like how much, like mechanically wise, right? Not just in the narrative, like you would need commitment again. How much do you get back if one of these unless happens? Like, what do you restart at for the purposes of mechanics and taking damage and stuff like that? That's my question. I don't think it's listed anywhere of like, if someone does save you, say one of your allies does permanently sacrifice an ability, like what do you start back at? You know, roll a D10, and if it's a 4, you get 40 kind of thing. Boom. All right. So Aaron said, oh shit, I have no answer for that. I would say 1d100, which is basically what I just said. Just like roll it and then you just get that one. So perfect. So we'll say that. We'll say that is that's what you do. You just roll a d100 and you start back.
You and your table to house rule, you know?
Yeah, very true. Yeah. But yeah, that was the only thing I saw there, was just that like you get to come back, but mechanically you need that commitment. Missions. Do you want to do missions or?
Missions. Play centers around missions. Characters might be given a mission by a contact or choose one based on what they know. If you're the player generating the mission, feel free to keep the initial premise simple and then complicate things as you go, especially if the other players are rolling poorly. Sample mission components are listed below or to the side. Pick from them or create them on your own, then add enemies. More information on enemies is in the later section, and it's fairly funny. Keep in mind that characters in Through the Mirror are powerful. Without rolling, they can sneak past defenses, kill enemies, or make them switch sides. Thus, it's recommended to include multiple stages and locations in each mission. This forces the players to either use their powerful abilities up front to get them past initial obstacles, or to rely on rolls initially, saving their abilities for the final task. Both approaches are fine.
Yeah, I really love the way that they put the missions together here. It's, I mean, I was going to drop this text document into Dropbox real quick. I'll get it out of the way. So tell me how they put them together.
Yeah, so you have mission goals. You can choose 1 or 2. You have twists, which add 1 or rarely 2. And then the end of mission, when the mission is over, everyone does the following things, which are things you do. Everyone has the opportunity to frame a scene based around something on the list above. The scene can show how their character has changed and how other characters can be invited in for the conversation. And I love these. This next mission, go, and an arrow, and the next mission, go, arrow, and again, but upside down. Yeah. So after your first mission, you add 5 to a skill. After the next mission, you add 5 to a skill or gain a new skill. And after that one, you add 5 to a skill or roll for a new ability or choose a new ability under a heading you already have an ability in. Great stuff.
It's really
but yeah.
So my thought as far as this, and maybe I'm wrong, is like this is 3 different it's different advancements after each mission, right? So like first one you do this, second one you do this, third one you do that. I really like that. You don't get a lot of games where like you rotate through different styles of advancement. They might give you all the options or whatever, but not in a specific way. And I really like that.
And I would probably loop it back to the first one. Like it would be a loop, you know? It would just keep going.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think that's the intention, but it's also neat that like you like once you get to the third one, it's 1, 2, and 3 options. But then on your 4th mission, going back to just like you just get the skill or whatever. I think that's a really neat way to kind of like I don't know, add some dynamism in the advancement without having to do a bunch of like random
leveling
stuff.
A little bit. As far as mission goals go, you have some ones that you'd expect, like kill somebody, rescue somebody, destroy something. But you have some interesting ones that are like escape unseen, because with mission goals, you're supposed to choose 1 or 2. And that's like an interesting like addendum one. Like, oh yeah, you need to leave your mark and then escape unseen. Or you could be travel through a dangerous way or dangerous area and retrieve information or an object. As far as twists, the goal is being kept elsewhere. Someone doesn't want to be rescued. I think that's an interesting one. You get to rescue the person. And they're like, oh no, I'm here by choice. Like, what do you do then? Are you then going to kidnap them? And at the end of mission, if you lose commitment, you gain 1d10 to the max 95. If you lose 10 commitment, you lose 10 commitment if you killed, tortured, or otherwise went against your morals. And then you advance your character C below. So.
I like it. It's a really straightforward, clean way to do something that could be written in a much more complicated way. But like choosing 1 or 2 mission goals and choosing like 1 or 2 twists for the missions is just such an easy way to go forward. And it's also such an easy list where you can just be like, I can think of 1,000 more that you could add to this and make it super simple to make something dynamic. It's really it's neat. And again, I like the way that like each person gets to frame like one time of what's happening to add to the group narrative, which you also already get from the like failure and success like discussions and stuff like that. So it's a way to continue the consistency with that. Enemies. So there's a bunch. I like them. There's everyday shitheads, amoral thinkers, literal monsters, captains of industry, corrupt betrayers, and chief executive officers. So obviously the lowest are these guys. So in each one you get an explanation of kind of like what they are. You get a paragraph that is, is the mechanics of it. And then underneath you get escalations. It's ways that like when shit starts to go bad, especially when you're rolling on the Fallout table and stuff, that you can escalate it. So everyday shitheads are just like regular people, such as a cop who likes to push people around. That's a cop talking here, Aaron. Others might...
It's almost like we don't like cops.
Yeah. Others might only be here for the paycheck or whatever. So everyday shitheads usually have no thresholds, meaning any roll under this skill succeeds. If they're untrained, they have 1 health. If they're trained, they have like 5, so they can take 1 or 2 hits. Basically, they're mooks, But the escalations are neat. So when a player's Fallout die is 4 or higher, consider having your everyday shithead pull one of the following maneuvers here. Threaten a bystander, cause collateral damage, call in reinforcements, challenge a player's morals, beg for their life, or run away. So I really dig the escalation list here, specifically for the Fallout, specifically because, like, again, we've said numerous times that some things it's nice to leave it broad, but when something is as broad as saying Fallout changes the narrative, so change it, it's really nice to not only get an explanation of what that means, but for every enemy to have a list explaining what that means is really nice to have.
Yeah, we have to talk about the first line of literal monsters.
Oh, yes, please read it for me. It's so good.
The literal monsters, the fuckable, misunderstood monsters are already on your side. You might be one of them. Oh my god!
Yeah, so good.
I can tell that Aaron's been spending a lot of time with Max.
Yeah, just a little bit. The next line is, these literal monsters are the bad ones. So I love that, the good ones are the fuckable ones. That's great.
God, likely to have inhuman speed, strength, or other abilities. Not be hideous or disgusting. They might just look like you and me. Little monsters have a threshold between 20 and 30, but they only apply to certain approaches. Each monster has its weaknesses, after all. So while a flesh-wearing man monster might be very difficult to harm with a typical weaponry, the roll must be above 30 or below the character skill. A buckshot blast of mirror shards would circumvent that threshold. Love that. It's funny because, like, when I first started reading this, I, like, after the first line, I was like, oh, little monsters, like evil people. People are monsters. And I would still probably play this like that sometime. But it means like actual monsters. But escalations, they drag someone to a remote location. That sucks. Strike out at everyone present, destroy an object or landmark, shout out King Kong, and then or consume a bystander to heal or reveal a new ability. That's right. They grow even more arms. Yeah, because they gotta have arms or tentacles. Well, I guess those are in the first. Never mind. So going through each one, just to give a little blurb, everyday shitheads are just normal fucking people. Wrong place, wrong time. But I like that they're susceptible to, like, just being like, bro, you can just leave. And then you're like, okay. Amoral thinkers are scientists, planners, philosophers of the opposition. They're the smart ones, but they're still pretty much just like regular shitheads. Then there's the literal monsters. Then there's the captains of industry. These are the greatest monster of our society, feeding on money, taking it from those too weak to hold on, and shoving them into gaping maws and distributing it to their disgusting organs, like arms manufacturers, police budgets, and addictive drugs, etc., etc. Corrupt betrayers are people that used to be on your side, but they switched. They were seduced, brainwashed, double, triple, quadruple agented, whatever. And then the chief executive officers are the biggest, baddest, bland. They aren't bland, ignorant CEOs of the real world, but they embody all the evils of the system. The CEO is supposed to be like the big bad of the entire, world that you have traversed into. They're, make them immune to regular shit, get crazy. Escalations are like command a horde, call the power of a holy alliance, like edit your character sheet until the end of the mission. Love that one. Yeah. Sorry, terrifying. You actually don't have that skill. Give me your sheet. Scratch. It's good. And then there's the sample mission here. It's really neat. It's Ballard Ranch. It's an introductory admission to Intermere Brightly. It's neat. It's cool. I'm not gonna. There's a cool little. We don't read adventures here. It's a good one. And I love the first line of running the adventure, the dark secret of the adventure. I'm not going to say it. Go buy the PDF right now on itch.io, the link below. But it's a really cool adventure. It gives you everything that you need for it, a breakdown of everything that's going on, an explanation of how to run it, a map. It's great. And then at the back, there's the reading list, the appendix in for this. The games like Cyberpunk 2020, Mage Ascension, CyberMetal, obviously, Apocalypse World, comics, The Invisibles, by Grant Morrison, Phil Jimenez, and more, for a recursive tale of Gnostic weirdness and all of its messy, stylish glory. And then movies and television, we talked about this before, the Matrix series by the Wachowskis, The Prisoner from Patrick McGoohan. Great.
that's it. This is half of the Low-Res Futures book. This is In a Mirror Brightly. This is Aaron motherfucking King. So let's kick to those review scores real quick. We are gonna just do, let me rearrange this a little bit. Get rid of the game scores. Nope.
We're prepped. Don't worry.
Oh yes, I do want to get rid of game scores, and I want to put zine scores. There we go.
There we go.
The difference really only matters to us, but full quote unquote bigger games that just have more stuff. We usually do 5 metrics, 4 for smaller games like this. For zine size games, we use 3 metrics: visuals, rule set, and vibes. So visuals are all the visuals of the game. That includes the art, the layout, everything when you look at it, front to back. That's visuals. Rule set is if it's a new rule set, do we like it? Is it good? If it's an adapted rule set, how well is it adapted? Also, do we like it and is it good? And the vibes are kind of like an overall looking at the visuals, looking at the rules, like how bad, when you close that last page, do you want to play this game? That's the vibes. So visually, what you got?
Oh, I love the way this looks. Yeah. I love the like kind of diffused art in the back of every single page, and I love the colors, and I'm a huge fan of this visually. It's still incredibly readable, which I think is really important. Well,
I mean, the colors are like, I don't know how much higher contrast you can get,
Yeah. Like it's super easy to read while still being like very visually dynamic and having a lot of personality to the visuals, and then just not feel like it's just art done all over the place. It all fits in nicely, even though maybe there's not really one central genre storyline to this. It could go in many different ways, and you feel like going through it. So I'm pretty good on visuals, Where are you at?
The visuals are great. Well, I mean, we kind of have to where do we factor in the fact that there is AR bonus content? You know what I mean? Is that part of visuals? Is that part of rules? I think that
I would say that's part of rules. Yeah. So vibes. So
yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, the AR app doesn't really exist right now. And we know it's there. So this doesn't really add anything to us visually right now. It does really add to the rule set because you can now get these rules and read them. But yeah, I think if the app comes out ever and we can scan this, I think, visually it'll bump it up to, probably a 10. But yeah.
Where are you at? Where are you at with this visually? I mean, I think it's great. I love the art. I love the style. I think it's super readable. I think it fits the vibe that it's going for. Compared to other games that I've gotten 10s and stuff like that, where are you?
Well, for this one right now, I'm probably more around an 8.
That was dead on where I was at. I think it's really, really fantastic. And it reminds me a little bit too, again, probably vibing off of CyberMetal 2012, of how there is no base layout, every page is different. Every page was clearly done differently. It's not like it's just a columned thing. You're just filling in text in the text box that's supposed to be there. And I love that. I love in games to make every page individually different. I think that's definitely one way to get around the whole we need to have a huge art budget. It's no, just make every page its own spread and use your layout in an interesting way, and then you're fine.
That is art.
Yeah, I think it is. It is.
Yeah.
I don't think game designers are, but that's a discussion for another day. So visually, 8, I think it's solid. Rule set. So adapted a little bit from CyberMetal 2012,
which is great.
What are your thoughts
I
on
love
it?
this.
Yeah.
I love the use of the D100, not contested rule, but things are a contest. It's not necessarily causing damage or hurting somebody. I like that. Oh yeah, you're just rolling to win in this whatever off you're having right now, whether it be with guns, dancing, fashion show. I really appreciate that. I like the flexibility of the skills. And I just like how weird building a character is. There's just you roll a D20 or maybe from 24 if you know the arcane secrets, the esoteric secrets of the book. But yeah, you could you're just a normal person who's just woken up to the truth behind things, and now you can fight. I think it's lightweight, and I think it has as much scaffolding as I would want with something like this, and it leaves it very, very open to interpretation and kind of gives you a lot of examples of those interpretations in really small ways as you go through the text. I like this game. I think it's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's super cool. I think, I mean, I really enjoy that things are like super broad, but focused in the ways you need it to be focused. I would just say like there's just a couple of things that maybe like a little bit of clarification. So like, for example, like you run into a room with like 5 bad guys, like there's an explanation of kind of like the bad guys. Every shithead usually has no threshold, things like that. But like, what can the bad guy do? Like, is like the bad guy action economy? I think like if it's nothing and it's all just based on character, I think that's something that like could use a little bit more explanation. Because like if you run into an amoral thinker, like, you know, there are some things like there's devotion, the experiments, chosen path, they get quick mutations. There's a lot of narrative, but not really like, and the escalations. What's the base thing that they can do to you, and how to like the turn order go a little bit? I think is the only part of the rule set that I think is like we would just figure out at the table, but wouldn't mind a little bit more clarification on. But otherwise, yeah, I love the rule set. It's so nice, just and clean. Just roll. You have a skill number, roll under it, you get it. If there's a threshold, roll between. Like, boom, super cake. And then all of the character life path is fucking fantastic. You know what I mean? Like those are great all the way through. The variations that you'll have in a game just by rolling up 4 extraordinarily different characters are incredible. I don't know. Where are you at with this?
No, I picked the last one. You do this.
I know. I always try to make you do all of them.
I know. You try to make me do all of them. I'm not doing that.
I know. Well, it's only taken 150 episodes for you to start saying no.
I know.
Realizing that's what I do.
I realized it like it's so funny. I realized it like 2 months ago, and I was like, I'm just gonna track how often it's me picking the number
every time.
And then like 2 weeks ago, I was like, you know what?
I'm probably for like zine rules, I'm probably still around an 8 for this. I really love it a lot.
Too. I mean, every time we go through a zine, there's always some rules that aren't in the zine. You know, they're all very lightweight. But I mean, stuff like this is so easy that I would just decide at the table. And I think this is not made for your first game. No. I mean, I'm sure you could if you were like a creative person who is unstressed and flexible about it. But like, this is not gonna be your first game. You can figure stuff out. You played other games, so
I mean, you could play this as the first game easy, but running it as your first game, like, but that's with all kind of like rules light systems. There's a lot of like implied knowledge that we have because we read all of this shit every fucking
I've read
week.
An insane amount of games at this point.
Well, I mean, that's half the reason we do this. I buy so many games, I got to read some of them, you know? So yeah, I think 8's easy. And vibes. What you got for vibes?
Oh, the vibes are through the roof on this thing. I love this
through the fucking roof. Yeah, I want to play it so bad.
It's an easy 9 for me.
Yeah, I think 9 is right where I'm at for it too. Yeah, I think 9 is where I'm at. I just generally, top to bottom, I really love this. Again, like the way that Aaron writes, the way that they think about games, and listen to the RTFM podcast to hear a lot more about that. And then the way that they communicate games, I think is all of those are great. But honestly, the way that they communicate games is some of my favorite. Like the way that they can write things so concisely in a way where I go, oh, like I rarely ever have a question after they explain something in the way that they write it because of how well it's done. But also, all the little quips and like the semi backhanded stuff that'll come up in the rules and like the things like that is it's so it's enjoyable to read whenever they write stuff. So 8 plus 8 plus 9, that's 16. That's what, like a 25. If I can't add 3 numbers together, it's a 25. Super solid score. 25 out of 30. Great. Love this game. It's good. I like it a lot.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Enemy or Brightly, check it out. Like I said, it's only what did we say? Like we don't have a value score on like the 5, but how much did we say it was? Was it like $5 on itch? Is that what I said? Was it like $10? Yeah. Some insanely like inexpensive cost for a game that you could have endless fun with. That's extremely well written. Very excited for it. Also play CyberMetal 2012. God, fucking like such a good game. At some point, probably in the next week or two, we're going to be going over the opposite side of the book, which is hand baskets from Max from Max Lander. We are doing an episode on Thursday. I don't think we're going to do this on Thursday, but we'll probably do this next week, and
we'll do something.
We'll get both sides of it. But check all of that out. What do we still got going on? Check out Earth After Dark and Black Rainbow Society. Talk about those on previous episodes to begin the Kickstarter.
One more giveaway this week. We're doing away, Hell Knight giveaway.
Yep. We're doing Hell Knight.
Listen. Am I doing it? Or are you doing it?
No, listen.
Okay.
Listen to what?
So listen, go to our Twitter, weekly_scroll, and like our post about the giveaway, because you could be the lucky winner of this gorgeous copy of Hell Knight and the additional zine, The Damned. They're great. I love Hell Knight. That game, I didn't think I was an 80s biker guy until I read that, and I was like, no, I could fucking do this. This is great. So.
Yeah. No, it's so well done, top to bottom. It's really great. Gavin Kuroga has some really great, again, thoughts about games, and the way that they produce so much of it with their own hands and like do the collage style art and the poster stuff.
Yes,
is
so
really
cool.
Great. Black Rainbow Society is on Kickstarter now to do an expansion for Hell Knight, so definitely go check that out. I will post the tweet probably right after this episode, so go check it out now. We'll do an episode on Thursday unless we postpone it again, but sometime this week we will be doing an episode. We will be giving away that finals book, and I think that's it. We got a lot of fun stuff coming up. I'll be talking with Kayla Dice this weekend. They'll be coming back on to talk about their newest game, Psycho Dungeon. And yeah. So, Aaron, once again, thank you for coming on. We really appreciated that. Thank you for making such a great game with Inamir Brightly here. And I believe that's it for us. So, Hunter, beautiful as always. We will see you all later. Bye.